Okay, so today we're going to be breaking down a common question I get when consulting on CMMC, and that is, what does FedRAMP equivalency mean? So obviously we mostly know what FedRAMP means. It means that they have an official FedRAMP certification, but the DoD has put something else in called FedRAMP Equivalency, which a lot of people get confused on and they don't really know what it means. And it's actually causing a huge problem in a lot of organizations because they are being sold from different vendors on things that are just flat out not correct and are causing a huge compliance issue. So under DFARS 252, 204, 7012, defense contractors who use cloud services that are going to be processing, transmitting, or storing CUI, it is on the contractor, the DoD contractor, it is their responsibility to ensure that the cloud provider is meeting security requirements equivalent to FedRAMP moderate baseline, or just make sure that the cloud service provider is FedRAMP moderate. Okay? So I'm here to clear up what equivalent means. So according to the DoD, FedRAMP equivalency means that the cloud service provider has been third-party validated through a full audit by a FedRAMP recognized third-party assessment organization to implement every single control from the FedRAMP moderate baseline. So if you don't know, FedRAMP moderate has around 325 plus security controls, and equivalency is saying that the cloud service provider must have 100% compliance to meet this equivalency standard. So what does that mean? They must have a bunch of evidence, including system security plan, a security assessment report from a 3PAO, control implementation summaries, security assessment plans, plan of actions and milestones, things like that. Now, the biggest difference, again, I just want to emphasize, the biggest difference lies in the oversight. So regular FedRAMP, if you don't know, FedRAMP moderate requires a government authorizing official who is going to review the assessment and make a decision that determines whether they get FedRAMP or not, right? Now, what is a government official, authorizing official? So think of a CIO from the DoD, DHS, GSA, something like that. They're going to review the FedRAMP paperwork, and then they're going to make a decision on whether that cloud provider gets, yes, they are FedRAMP, or no, they're not FedRAMP. So technically, you could reach FedRAMP authorization if you have some controls that are not implemented. So technically, yes. However, FedRAMP equivalency, you do not need a government authorizing official. So because of this, since there is no trusted government official to evaluate and accept risks if some controls are not implemented or on a POAM, the DoD requires equivalency to mean perfect implementation. Therefore, zero exceptions, no POAMs for controls that have not been implemented. So in reality, FedRAMP equivalency is actually harder to achieve than it is to achieve FedRAMP authorization. So regardless, both paths are going to require an assessment from a 3PAO, the same amount of documentation, and similar professional services costs in case that cloud service provider does not have a cybersecurity professional that can help them do that. So regardless, this is going to cost that cloud service provider anywhere from around $400,000 to $2 million, basically. Basically, a lot of money. So just to break it down again, equivalency is going to be harder technically because they have to be perfect. And one thing I am noticing is a lot of defense contractors are currently using a cloud service provider, and then the defense contractor realizes that, oh, we need to start storing CUI here, right? Or maybe they've been storing CUI in there and they're like, oh, we need to move. The thing is, if they love the software as a service, right? They love the application, they love the features. It's a very unique application, or maybe it's just a startup, and they're changing a lot of things the way the industry runs. And let's say the organization has already started using this application everywhere in their organization, and they come across this issue, and they start reaching out to the software service provider, the cloud service provider, asking them, hey, can you guys get compliant? Can you guys do this? And then the cloud service provider would respond and say, oh, we can move your instance of our software into AWS GovCloud or Azure Government. And then for some reason people think, oh, that's good. We're compliant if you do that. However, that is not the case. Simply moving your instance of the cloud application into a GovCloud or Azure Government does not automatically mean that the SaaS application is FedRAMP. So let me give you a comparison. If your organization has moved to GCC High, just because you are on GCC High does not mean you're compliant with CMMC. There's still a lot of things you have to do. A lot of things. And actually, Microsoft outlines all of this in their system security plan and states what responsibilities are on the customer. So the same thing would apply here. If the application gets moved to GovCloud or Azure Government, that does not mean that the application and the company itself is FedRAMP or FedRAMP equivalent. In fact, they still have to do a lot of work, and you can see from the Azure Government System Security Plan or the AWS GovCloud System Security Plan, all of the responsibilities that these guys have to do to reach FedRAMP moderate or FedRAMP moderate equivalency. So I just wanted to outline this difference that a lot of companies are misinterpreting, and it could potentially cause a huge problem, and it's making a lot of organizations come to a very difficult decision of what they're going to do with this software as a service application that they're using. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I'll go ahead and try to respond as soon as possible.